Okay, in this tutorial, you'll learn how to have your character walk. As your character walks, you'll have the appearance of your character holding their blaster weapon. Your character will be able to have the appearance of jumping with their blaster weapon. When you left click and hold the mouse, your character will fire the blaster weapon. Wherever the mouse moves, your character will aim at the mouse. When the mouse goes the other direction, your character will flip to aim with the mouse. You'll learn how to do that. Also, if you notice, when I left click on the mouse, the character shakes. So the character is actually shaking as the character fires the blaster weapon. So that's what you're going to learn as you work your way through this tutorial. Okay, so we're going to click on New Scene and Events. We have this sub-event right here. Now this is underneath this event that says player is not moving. That's what this is. The player is not moving. So what we're going to do is we're going to make things go so that when we click our left mouse button, our character fires that blast that we just made out of its blaster. So we're going to click Add Condition. See this mouse and touch? We're going to left click on there. And we have these different options: mouse button released, mouse button pressed or touch held. This is what we want. We want the mouse button pressed or touch held. So we're going to left click there. So then it says button to test. We're going to left click here. We're going to select left primary. And then we're going to click OK. Okay, so we're like when the left mouse button is touched or is down, we want you being Gdevelop to do something, right? So what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring that bolt to come out of the point that we had made. Remember, we added a point to the blaster. So we're going to click Add Action. We're going to go to Common Actions for All, Object, and then we're going to go to Create an Object. So we're going to click here, and then the object that we want to create is this blast. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this blue button here to get this exposition. We're going to go all the way up. We're going to go to Common Expressions for All. We're going to go down to Position. And then we're going to select Exposition. So now when we click this, we have this object. The object that we want the exposition of is our blaster. So now we'll click Done. We could copy and paste this here. I'm going to click here, go to this blue button. Go back up, Common Expressions for All, Position, Y position this time, left click, and then select Blaster. Then click Done. So the reason why I did that was we got this little piece of code right here, right? In these two pieces of code, we need to go right after the period. We need to put capital P, then OINT for point. We then need to click inside of these parentheses, hold shift, put a quotation, and we're going to put SP and then quotation. The reason why we're doing that is so that this code is going to tell this blast to be made right on the that point that we made for the blaster. So the same thing here. Now when we put in this point, this is something that when we put this point in, so I just put in capital P, point. Gdevelop knows what's going on here when we do that. The thing that we're putting in that we wrote was SP. So I'm holding shift, putting quotation, SP. I had said we're doing this because it made me think like shooting point. So now we'll click OK. Okay, so to have the blast move, we want to go to Add Action. We're going to go to Common Actions for All. We're going to go to Movement. Then we're going to go to Add a Force Angle. We want to add this force angle to a blast. Then we want this blast to come out from our blaster. So we're going to click the blue button. We're going to go up to the top, Common Expressions for All. We're going to click Angle. Click on Angle again. Then what's the object that we want the angle for? We're going to left click, and then we're going to select Blaster. Then we're going to click done. So now this is going to show us how fast this comes out. So what we're going to do is click here, putting a setting of 400 for the speed. So the blast is going to come out at 400 pixels per second. And then we have these two options here, instant as well as permanent. We want to left click on permanent and then click OK. Okay, so we click the preview button. Now when we left click on the mouse, we can see that we have this blast coming out. However, it's too much. So I'm going to click this X button to come out of that preview window. Okay, when you saw that stream coming out of the blaster, that was because there was too many blasts coming out whenever we click the left button. One of the ways we can deal with that is we can add a timer in. The timer will control the blast in between each blast that comes out of our blaster. So to do that, we're going to click here. So we're clicking in the same event as our touch or left mouse button is down. Then we're going to click add condition. We're looking for timers and time. We're going to select value of a scene timer. This time in seconds is going to be the time in between each blast. If we put something like 2 seconds, that would be too slow. We're going to put in a setting of 0.085. And then for the timer's name, we're going to put in our own name. So we're going to hold shift, press quotation, ST, and then hold shift, then quotation. This is short for shoot timer. And I'm putting ST instead of just writing out shoot timer for the sake of the tutorial, just for time. If you think it would help you to better understand putting something like shoot timer, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click OK. Okay, so what's going to happen now is in between a blast, there's going to be 0.085 seconds. A blast. How do we have it so that there is 0.085 seconds in between each blast? To do that, we need to add an action that tells the timer to reset. All right, so we're going to click add action, timers and time. And then we're going to go to start or reset a scene timer. We're going to left click here. This one's the name. I left click here. Now I'm holding shift. I'm going to put in not control, quotations. ST, which is what we named the timer. Hold shift, then put quotations. Then I'm going to click OK. Okay, so what we're going to do now is click the preview button. So now when I'm holding down the left mouse button, you can see we have, something that looks like it should. I can also just left click once and we have a blast coming out. Or I can hold the button down and we have those blasts coming out, and that's that 0.085 in between each blast. However, we need to set things up so we can actually aim our blaster. So let's do that. So I'm going to click this X button to go out of that preview. Okay, so we're working with this event where the player is not moving. So we want to make a sub-event of this. So we're going to click here. When I say here, we're clicking like near the bottom of this whole event here, which is composed of a condition as well as an action. We have this highlight going around the whole thing. Because we have that, we're going to click the plus button here. That makes a sub-event that's a sub-event of this right here. If we had clicked here, by the way, if you're like, why are you saying all that? If we clicked here, we would make a sub-event of this. We want, and then this sub-event would be dependent upon, one of these things. We want this sub-event to be dependent upon just the fact that the player is not moving. For the condition, we don't want a condition other than the fact that of our event where the player is not moving. So we're going to click add action. We're going to go to common action for all. We're going to go down to angle. We're going to select rotate towards a position. What do we want to rotate towards the position? That is our blaster. For this X position, we're going to click this blue button. We're going to go up to where we see the mouse cursor. We're going to left click here. We're going to select cursor X position. And then we're going to click done. So now we're going to do the same thing for this position. We're going to click the blue button. We're going up till we see mouse cursor. Here's the mouse cursor. We're going to left click here, select cursor Y position, and then click done. This setting right here is fine how it is, so we're going to click OK. Okay, so what did that do? We'll click the preview button. So now we see that when we move our cursor, our blaster moves when we move our cursor. If I push the left mouse button, we see our blast coming out. However, there's an issue because see how the blaster coming out? We don't want that. We want them coming out like this. So on this angle, they look okay. When they go like that, they don't look okay. So now we need to work to have this work correctly. So I'm going to click this X button to get out of this preview.